expose our walls and faces. Not my old actual walls. Okay, I'm upset with myself because I thought I knew where my stuff was at. And it's not. Bear with me. Turn one more light on. This is it. That's all I need. I found it. Okay. All right, guys. All right, let's go ahead and get this fixed up here. Let's turn this announcement off. Let's turn this music. Whoops. Let's turn the music off. Can't see anything. Let me get some shade on. And I might even need to use my magnifying glasses just so I can see what's going on here. All right, guys. I've got a couple of subjects that we want to talk about today. First of all, welcome. This is Wargaming Wednesday. We normally start at about 11 o'clock, and looks like it's about 11:07, so a little delay. Every Wednesday around 11 a.m. we get together and we talk about modeling, hobby supplies, painting. A lot of times I'll be sitting here painting. You're welcome to drop something into the chat. From time to time, what I will do is I will read the chat and then try to answer any questions that might appear. But usually what I'm doing is paying attention to what I'm doing here on this table. So just bear with me on that. And we usually just have a good old time and just shoot the shit for about 2 hours. and we get some things going on. Okay, so I thought about putting on the screen what our topics of the today is going to be, but I've changed my mind. We're not going to do that. I'll just tell it to you. Okay, so some things we're going to be talking about. The things that I've planned. We might break off and do other things, or I might not get to everything. If I don't get to everything, because I do have quite a bit that I want to ruminate, might be the word I'm looking for. But the first thing we're going to talk about is the Warlord Games stone walls. We're going to, these are Italeri stone walls, and so are these. This stone wall set is also the Italeri set, and just by looking at the box, it looks like it's the same set. When I bought this set right here, when I bought this set, it was labeled as 1/72nd scale. This is labeled as 28 millimeter. Now, 28 millimeter is not 1/72nd. Everyone knows it's 1/56 scale. So these walls in this box should not be the exact same scale as this. If they are, they're lying to us. And that was just something that I wanted to figure out. That's the first thing. Second thing is I've got this Oathmark book, and I also have this Oathbreaker book, mainly because it has the undead in it. And I kind of wanted to discuss the basic rules and unit construction and stuff like that, because of the fact that I painted up some skeletons, but I didn't know how to market them on my channel, on my store, because I didn't know anything about Oathmark. I also want to compare Oathmark to, I hate to say this, but I am going to compare it to Warhammer, because I've played Warhammer for so many years. And I'm going to compare it to Warlords of Erewhon, but I'm also going to compare it to other Osprey games, because this is an Osprey game. I was wanting to, towards the end of the video, kind of go through the army lists and kind of put together some armies. But I also wanted to do that with SPQR, Hail Caesar, Black Powder Bolt Action, all that stuff, but I can't do everything, so we're not going to do all that. I'm just going to basically go over it. As an announcement, before I get into Oathbreakers, okay, that's the second thing we're going to talk about, is I am going to start recording what I like to call boot camps, which are like video tutorials about the rules. So basically teaching the rules in video format, breaking each chapter down into a separate video. It might take me a week or two to get that finished, but I plan to upload those boot camps as I make them. So over the next couple of weeks, you'll see these chapters coming up every couple of days or something like that. If you're interested in learning how to play Oathmark, or if you're just curious about what it's all about, I'm just taking this as an opportunity. It's a new rule set for me, so I'm going to figure it out, and then we're going to upload it. Maybe using my Wargaming table over there, what we'll probably do is I'll pull some of my fantasy models out, and what we'll do is we'll use them as props and explain different movement rules and stuff like that. And basing seems to be a little different, but it's okay. Okay, All right, so that's two, three if you count but that's not gonna be today. So the third thing I wanted to talk about would be my polls on my channel. So what I'll do is over here, what I'll do is I'll pull up some polls that I have on my channel that I don't have, that I'm going to add today, so that we can break down some, because I've got some polls on there right now that are kind of vague and broad spectrumed. What I'd like to do is take some of the more popular votes and break them down so I can see exactly where those votes are coming from. Because basically it just helps me, and you can't know, guys, but I'm telling you, these polls are helping me a lot, or considerably, when it comes to figuring out like what kind of models I need to have for my store. It's just beneficial. I just gotta say that, beneficial. All right, guys. So let's start off with the stone walls. Okay, so let's take a look at this. As you know, this is the stone walls, hard plastic stone walls for 28mm Wargaming. Let me go grab a World War II model. This one looks good. I could have went in a million different directions, but I decided to go ahead and grab one of my American GIs. All right, so remember, this wall was originally 1/72nd scale, right? And there's nothing wrong with 1/72nd scale. This looks really good for a 1/72nd scale, a 28mm model firing over a 1/72nd scale wall. Well, it looks good. I don't have a problem with that. And the low damaged wall or whatever. So that actually is a really good representation of the wall. I don't have a problem with that. That's pretty good. Now let's take a look at these 28mm walls. Just looking at these Warlord Games German figures sitting by these walls, it looks like these walls are going to be exactly the same size. Italeri, if this is true, they're saying use it for bolt action or package shot black powder. Okay. Plus, I've got some homemade walls here. I've got this wall, which I made out of cork board. This is just a cork board that was cut into like a 20mm slit, right? And then just glued it on a little popsicle stick, painted it up. Looks like it's a great wall. This wall I've had for hundreds of years. It's resin. It's kind of, well, maybe it's not even resin. It's kind of like double-sided plastic. It's like two walls squeezed together. I don't remember where I got these walls. I might have had them for a long time. Yeah, they're plastic. Okay. Two halves glued together. I might have had these since the 90s when I was running my Wargaming store. That's probably where I got that. This is a picket fence that I picked up from I want to say it's that company that does tanks. I can't remember what that company is called. Damn. They make precision resin and metal and plastic tanks. If I was to pull up my search engine, I probably could find them. But I ordered just a couple of things from them, and I think these picket fences was one of them. They make lighting fixtures and accessories for the battlefield and stuff like that. Yeah, I can't remember. But I noticed that this fence is taller than this wall, but it's about the same size as this wall. And this was made to match up with this. So, I don't know. Let's see. Let's pull out an X-Acto knife. Let's cut in to the plastic. Now, I've been planning on doing this this review for a while now, but I have not needed or wanted to just go ahead and order the walls. I haven't had any need for it. So I've been putting it off and putting it off. But then on my last Warlord order, these were accidentally put in my order. When I ordered a stone bridge, and I got the stone walls. And I told my rep, don't worry about it. I'll keep them. I was gonna get them eventually anyway, so let's not worry about it. Okay, we got. Now, Quran. Okay, great. Here comes a couple. This box will eventually be turned into a couple of movement trays. Okay, great. This is just your information flyer, which I don't care about. Okay. 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 I'm just going to take the screws out. Just thinking without actually measuring, it looks like these are going to be larger. These might actually be 28 millimeters, but we'll maybe not. We'll see. Could be an optical illusion. Okay. Okay, I think this wall is this wall. Take it off. Okay, never mind. These two walls are exactly the same. Yep, they're exactly the same. That's just going to tell me the rest of it's all exactly the same. Got a few solid walls, so you can make or you make a damaged wall section, or you can combine the two. I think a little bit of damage on the wall is fine. I don't have a problem with that. I think it looks good. Yeah, these are nice thick walls, just like these. One thing I like about these is when you do eventually assemble your walls, you get these small pieces, you get these large pieces, and they fit in. So I could make a straight, longer wall. There's rubble along the bottom of the wall to give the base a little bit extra girth, so that when you put the wall on the table, it doesn't tip over. But once you put a little bit of a corner, which fits in nice and snug, once you put a corner piece on there and you set it down, it's not going anywhere. It's like you don't need any kind of base to hold it in place or anything like that. Kind of like this one, you know, you can just set it on the table somewhere. So yeah, these walls are basically, they just doubled them because these are 1/72 scale. I made a comment previously, like last week, I do believe, that it's hard to not verify, but it's hard to what's the word I'm looking for? Not verify or justify or quantify is probably the word I'm looking for. Okay, look at it. 2 sprues exactly the same. That's what you're getting. So that means you're getting 2 fences right there. You're getting a bunch of end caps that when you put on the end of your brick walls, or if the end of your wall is like this and you want to cover that up, you've got this little piece here that can cover it up. I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know where that sneeze came from. Okay. Okay, what I was getting at is it's hard to complain because a wall, there's no exact height of a wall. So if you're in the wilderness, in the country or wherever you're at, and you find a wall, one wall might be 2 feet tall, right? You walk down the street a little bit, now you got a 7-foot tall wall. Walk down the street a little bit more, now you got a 3-foot wall. So there's no guarantee or no like a wall has to be this high to be a wall. It doesn't. It can be lower, it can be higher, you know. And especially like in the European World War II or even Napoleonic period or whatever, a lot of the farmers are taking rocks out of their field as they're plowing, and they're just piling them up, making walls or whatever, right? And those walls can be any height. So from a game perspective, it doesn't matter if this is labeled as 1/72 or if it's labeled as 28 millimeter, because this 1/72 wall, okay, being that if I put a 1/72 scale model behind it, it's going to just be a lot taller. And then if I put a 40 millimeter model behind it, it's just going to be shorter. So this wall really should be labeled, the box should be labeled as stone wall, you know, and then give like the height of the wall, which happens to be 20 millimeters. Yeah, so I don't know. It's actually a very tall wall when it comes to 1/72 scale, but it's perfect for 28 millimeter. I think this is a perfect scale for a wall. But I remember, and I hope I'm not remembering this wrong, but I remember when I bought these walls originally, they came out, they were 1/72 scale walls from Italy. And then Warlord Games took the same exact sprue, repackaged them as 28 millimeter walls. I don't know, I feel like I was expecting these walls to be either 28 millimeters tall or scaled up from this. So like if this was 1/72 at 20 millimeter, I was kind of expecting this to be 28 millimeters tall, which I guess a wall that high would be like a 6-foot wall, and that would be way too tall anyway. So, well, not for everybody. There are some like gardens that have walls taller than that, 10 feet tall or whatever. I mean, just look at Hugelmont. Okay, so okay, this is a wall I made. It's taller than that, but you know, it's still pretty good. Guy's shooting his Thompson over it, no problem. This is a picket fence. Yeah, this picket fence is actually a little bit taller than this wall, which is taller than this wall, just a little bit. But I also put it up on top of this base, so it elevated it. So let's pretend like this is the tabletop. If I had a figure, he could still be shooting over it, no problem. He's still shooting over it, or between the... Okay. Okay, so... Nothing special. Sorry. Okay, so that was topic 1. Disappointed a little bit, but understanding. Let's just say that. Okay, so let me put these guys away, clear my table. I should probably go to the Italeri website and see if I can't find it in 1/72 and see if that's actually on there. If not, it's no big deal. Notice there's no chats. That's okay. If you guys are just watching this at work or at lunch, welcome. Okay, so here, let me kind of dust this off. What I think is on here is a little bit of flock that I did a couple of nights ago. Okay, that's good. Okay, so we're going to be talking about a couple of different books here. We got they're Oathmark books. Okay, this glare is real. Okay, so let's move the camera to kind of fight the glare situation. Okay, so I'm not ever going to get rid of that glare. Okay. All right, so I picked up some skeleton warriors from Oathmark, right? With the Oathmark box, and they're beautiful models. They went together good. I have them up on my eBay store. But I didn't know exactly how many figures to put in a unit. And I went to the internet and I found some forums that talked about the units. And what's funny is almost everybody said 10-man units. That's what it is, 10-man units. So I said, okay, no problem. I'll make some 10-man units. But then I thought about it and I said, you know, I would really like to know what other units are out there, like humans, elves, dwarves. Maybe they have, and then this is the Undead book, but maybe they have different army makeups or anything like that. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and get the rule book. I'm going to get the Undead army book and check it out. Now, I was clueless. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. I was super clueless. I thought Oathmark had one book, maybe one or two supplements, and that was it. And when I went to go shopping for these, I found that I think this is the second rule book. I think Battles of the Lost Age is like the second edition of this, I think. And there's like 10 supplements. They're not all army lists. Some of them are campaign books. Some of them are like additional rules, like for heroes or terrain features or unit formations, or also their army books. Like this one is, excuse me, this one is a mixture of undead, but also other rules. So I didn't realize that Oathmark had as much material for it as there is. So initially that turned me away. I was like, oh, that's crap, right? But wow, my mic, I'm sorry guys, my mic was all the way across the room. Hopefully you guys could hear me, because I got the mic pretty much cranked up. I'm gonna have to turn it down now that I moved the mic closer. I don't know. We'll see if this show is any good. Okay, so, and then after I said, you know what, I'm just going to order the rule book. I'm going to order the undead book. And that'll be it. And then I thought about it while I was waiting for these to be delivered. I was like, you know, I used to play Warhammer. I don't play it anymore. But I used to play Warhammer, and they were on like, I don't know, the 20th edition or something like that. But throughout the different editions, every army had its own book, right? I had the orc book, the undead book, the Skaven, the Empire, and the Bretonnians, and Chaos, and then you could even break Chaos down into 4 different factions if they wanted to do that, plus the Wood Elves and the High Elves and the Dark Elves and the Lizardmen. It just went on and on and on. Mercenaries, and every one of those books you needed for your army, right? So I was like, okay. So I didn't when I was playing that game, I didn't have a problem with that. You know, I would buy my army book, and I would buy the rule book. I would actually buy all the books because I was kind of impulsive that way. But why should this game be any different, right? Why? And then I thought about it even deeper. I was like, I've grown to a point where I'm just playing a lot of historical games, but I play bolt action, right? And I was thinking, well, bolt action, hell, I've got, I don't know, 30 different books for bolt action. You know, there's campaign books and there are army books. Every army's got its own book, and then every campaign in the war's got its own book. So there's, I think that's just a way. Well, it's a way mainly for the company to make money, obviously, because they can turn around and sell you the books, right? Of course. And I don't have any problem with any company trying to make money. That's why they exist. But as an author, you know, I would relish the opportunity to put everything you need to play in a rule book, and then have the opportunity, like monthly or bi-monthly or whatever, to put out more rules for my game, right? And these supplemental books give the author the opportunity to enhance his game. I play a role-playing game, Dungeons and Dragons. You know, you buy your 3 main core rule books, that's never enough. You know, you got to buy all these modules and adventures, and why is that? Well, because they want to expand upon their world, or they want to um, explain different adventures, or introduce new monsters, or whatever. So basically, I came to my own understanding that I'm not going to complain about additional books. That just doesn't make sense. Why would I complain that there's like 10 books for Oathmark when these other games that I'm playing have like 30 books and I have no problem with it? So I was being a hypocrite. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so let's put the Oathbreakers to the side just for now. And let's talk about Oathmark in general. Oh yeah, that's right. I meant to say this. So I'm going to the forums, and they're all saying 10 figures per unit, right? And I said, okay, never mind. I'm just going to order the book, and we're going to figure this out. The first thing I noticed, because that was the first thing I was looking for, unit size. A unit can be anywhere from 1 to 20 figures. Any number. So I could have 3 figures in a unit. I could have 7 figures in a unit. I could have 19 figures in a unit. Any number between 1 and 20. So all those forums that say that the units have to be 10 figures, or the understanding is that all units are 10 figures, is full of shit. They're full of crapola. Okay. 20 is the maximum. Okay. I'm not really sure why Joseph decided that 20 is a maximum unit size. But I'm going to get into that in just a minute. Also, there is a army organization which all the armies abide by, but I haven't looked at all the different rules yet, and I haven't read through every book, so things might change depending on what supplements you get and things like that. But in the core book, the most you can have is 4 units of the same type. So let's say I've got human line breakers, and I have 4 units of 20 figures. Because remember, a unit can be up to 20 figures. And I've got 4 of those. So that's 80 models. It's a lot of points. That's a lot of points. But that's okay. You're allowed to do that. But let's say I had 4 units of just 5 models. I can't have 6 or 7 units of 5 models, even though that's less than 80 figures. It's not about the figures, I noticed. It was about the units. 4 units, maximum per unit, is 20. It's up to you to decide how to fit that into your point values or whatever. Do you want to have 4 10-man units for a total of 40 figures? Do you want to have... Now, that's not all you can have, because I could have archers as well, and I could have 4 units of archers and 4 units of line breakers. You can only have 4 units of the same type, which is a very weird organizational restriction. I don't really get that. But I haven't read all the rules yet, and I'm not really sure. My game designer hat is going on, and it's telling me that it's all about command and control. It's not about the number of figures on the table. It's about how many units you're moving around. So if I have 4 maxed sized units, I'm still only moving 4 units. I'm not moving 80 figures, which you are, but I'm not moving 80 figures. I'm moving 4 units. And then I could add other units on top of that. I don't know. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, starting after this, maybe tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to be uploading rules tutorials that are going to explain the different chapters. Like in this one, we've got the basics, which is what you need to play, as in the miniatures, the table, the terrain, dice, measuring, and kingdom army sheets and all stuff like that. That is probably going to be my first video, super easy. Next video is going to be playing the game. It's going to talk about unit sizes, the officer, units of 1, facing. Okay, well, I see playing the game is all of that, so I think I'm going to break that down, because we got figures, line of sight, setting up the table, the turn, initiative, activation is probably going to be one video. I'm just guessing. Actions will be move, maneuver, shoot, I don't know, combat, shooting. These are probably going to be 2 different videos. Morale, and then there's advanced rules. And then it starts going into building an army, the campaign, figure list, which this book does include lists for dwarves, humans, elves, and goblin orcs. But it also has unaligned creatures. So really you've got kind of like 4 or 5 armies included with the rulebook, which is dwarves, humans, elves, and goblins. And that's why I had to order the undead book, because skeletons are not in the main rulebook. Okay, so I love a book that, beautiful art too. The art in the book, well, it's Osprey. You know, Osprey always does a great job. But I wanted to compare this to Warlords of Erewhon and Warhammer in a way, right? Warlords of Erewhon is one thick book from Warlord Games. To me, after playing like Hail Caesar, SPQR, Black Powder, Bolt Action, I felt like Warlord, and then I even have Gates of Antares. But when I pulled out Warlords of Erewhon, I felt like that rule set is, I don't know, it's not Gates of Antares with fantasy, or it's supposed to be like Bolt Action with fantasy, and I don't know, I just don't, it didn't click with me, or it didn't jive with me. You got a camera in my head now. Warhammer was always fun because of the simplicity of it. Now I have other rules, like I've got SPQR, simple, love it. It's basically Hail Caesar broken down into individual models. It's really good. And then there's a non-fantasy rule set. I play Lion Rampant, which Lion Rampant is an Osprey game, and I thought there might be, and I love it. It just doesn't have any fantasy in it. It's just straight medievals, which there's nothing wrong with that either. But this I could use as medievals, because all I have to do is just say humans versus humans, right? No problem, medievals. Or I could incorporate a fantasy element like elves and dwarves and orcs and stuff. Okay, so basically I was trying to come up with a rule set that I was going to be happy with. Talking about miniatures. Now, base size, everything's individually based, and 90% of your models are going to be on 25 millimeter bases, square bases. which I'm okay with that. And when I played Warhammer, I would place my humans on 20 millimeter bases, but then I would turn around and take an orc, which is, in my fantasy world, an orc and a human are the same size. He's not grotesquely larger like in Warhammer he is, but in Warhammer they put on 25 millimeter bases. But then goblins, which are supposed to be way smaller than a human, are still on 20 millimeter bases. So I don't know. It's just a rules thing. But in this game, everything is pretty much on a 25 millimeter base. I'm going to take a skeleton. I'm going to take a human. I'm going to take an orc. I'm going to take a dwarf. I'm going to take a halfling. I'm going to take anything that is normally going to be in a unit is going to be 25 millimeter bases. Now there are ogres and stuff like that, and they put them on 50 millimeter bases, which are kind of like your giant size bases or whatever. But they also have giants, which are on 100, it doesn't say here, 100 millimeter by, or maybe it does over here. I don't remember, but it's a larger base. And then it says if you have a unit of 10 archers, you may make a tray which is 125 millimeters wide by 50 millimeters deep. Okay, because what that does is it puts 5 figures in a rank, and then 2 ranks deep. And it says, even if you use Oathmark bases, you may want to consider using movement trays. It'll basically just make everything faster, which, hey, you know, I'm into that. Okay, and the table, they're saying if you're playing with about 30 figures, use a 2 foot by 4 foot table. That's awesome. That's a small little battle, 2 by 4. But if you play with 100 or more figures, use a 4 by 6. That seems like a normal Warhammer game, 4 by 6, right? Okay, well, they talk about 10-sided dice. They use 10-sided dice in the game. Okay, I'm okay with that as well. I was looking at the stats. Looks like a simple stat roster here. We're looking at A, which is activation. Then you've got move, which I assume is in inches. And then you have the fighting style or fighting score. You have a shooting score. And then you have a defense. So fighting, shooting, defense. Then you have a CD, which is combat dice. And then health, which is hit points. You know, how many hits it takes to kill a model. And most humans are going to have 1 hit point. And then how many points it is, what size base you're supposed to put, any special rules. Now, this is showing a unit here of 12 models. You form, which is also something I'm not really for or against yet, because I haven't read the entire book. But it talks about you always have a 5-man front. And then from there, you fill your ranks out on your way back. So with 12 figures, you go 5, 5, and the 2 remaining figures go on the back. Now, it's saying that I don't have 6 wide by 2 ranks. That's all out. It's always 5 wide. Why is that? I don't know. And they're explaining the front flank and rear and stuff, and an elf archer. Lines of sight, setting up the table, initiative, there's dwarfs, actions, you got movement, rough ground, moving off the table, pivoting and maneuvering or wheels, It all seems basic, like it was written for someone who's never played a war game before, but that's good because you want to be able to introduce people that have never played war games to your game, right? And in my combat tutorials, or in my tutorials, we'll talk about the combat dice. This says determining combat dice, and it looks like you get more or less dice for certain situations. And you get dice based on a complete rank. And I guess a complete rank would be 5 figures. So you would never want a unit of less than 5 figures. But I'll have to figure that out. And then the target number is calculated. It's probably the guy's defense. But you get pluses and minuses based on if you're attacking him from the side or rear or whatever. Okay, and I kind of like this. This might or might not be correct, but it looks like if you equal or exceed the target number, you do 1 hit, right? But if you exceed the target number by 5, you do 2 hits. So what if my target number is only 5 and I roll a 10, then I actually do 2 casualties. And if I exceed it by 10, then I would do 3 casualties. How often is that going to happen? Because I'm only rolling a d10, right? But we'll figure it out. Apply hits, remove casualties, morale test, pushback. Then they give a round of combat example. That's always good. Shooting attacks, the range of your weapons. You would think that the range of the weapon would also be included in your army list. That's what I would do. I'd write it on the side there. Determining hits. It looks like it might be the same. Shooting example, morale. Then there's disordered units and cascading panic, which I'm thinking that if you have an army like this and one of the units panics, then everybody within a certain number of inches probably also has to make a panic roll. That would be... Okay, now the rules were only 55, not even if you count those as pictures, 53 pages. And some of those are full-page pictures. So I'm going to estimate around 50 pages of rules. And this book is 192 pages. So its advanced rules start at page 56. Characters, commanders, champions, death of an officer, spellcasters, splitting and joining units. Okay, so maybe you got 2 half-size units. You want to form up 1 solid unit. Okay. Monsters. Then there's artillery. Magic items. Events is an optional rule. Okay. Quite a few of those. All right. Now, starting at 75, it's building an army. So not a whole lot of advanced rules, in my opinion. That is excellent. I like games that are streamlined. I'm starting to dig this more and more. Okay, building an army. That's where I realized that you could have 4 units of each type. But it looks like the first thing you do is create a kingdom. Download a copy from Osprey Games website or print the kingdom sheet. Now, if I remember right, the kingdom sheet was a circle because that's an army roster. There we go. The kingdom sheet is kind of looks like a target. Oh, and then reference sheets are right there. Okay, which is paper, and need to probably get a PDF or photocopy these and print those on cardstock. But you're creating a kingdom. You write your current ruler, 5 circles are divided into regions and territories. You plot out your, okay, so you have region 1 contains a territory, region 2 contains 2 territories. Okay, and you create your kingdom. Decide your capital, what race it is. Once you choose your capital, consult your terrain list for each of your races. And you set up terrain in each of those. Okay, so basically you're making like a map, a simplified geometric map of your kingdom, so that I guess makes easier to, like, when you guys fight a campaign. Like, here's the dwarf terrain list. It has dwarf city, mountains, lumberyard. And then in each of these terrain types, you get certain units available. Okay, so I don't know what that means. Oh, elf terrain. The dark forest can have 6 giant spiders or 6 vulvers. My understanding is the vulvers are like werewolves. Wow, that was a lot of pages just for that. And then point value suggestions, 550 up to 6,500, which is an epic clash. Standard game is 2,500 points. A beginner game is 550 points. It says 550 points could be 1 or 2 boxes of Oathmark figures, which I got 30 skeletons in a box. Okay, so now each of these pages has a couple of different unit types. Dwarf Captain, Champion, General, Soldier, and Warrior is different. The Warrior is more armored, I do believe. Yep, heavy armored, light armored. Archers, Spearmen are considered a different type of unit. You got Spellcasters. I guess those are 1 to 5 levels. Okay, that's interesting. And then the Linebreaker is usually heavy armor and 2-handed weapons. Militia, Border Guard, Catapults. And then these are like monsters. Like there's a Barghest, an Ichi, and Indrik. I'm not sure what those are. I might have to do a little research. Now you got the humans. And I was thinking about using not just the humans that they come with, which are like maybe a little, not Dark Age, but early Middle Ages maybe. Or I could even use 100 Years War, like front rank models or whatever, and just mount them on 1-inch bases. And I could crank out some humans using front rank models. Or I could get the human box set and see what that looks like. I have an elf box set. I haven't really cracked it open yet. Spellcasters, human soldiers. They have line breakers as well, which is heavy armor, 2-handed weapons. We don't need to get into all that. See, this kind of looks Celtic, maybe? I could use hell, thinking about it, I could use some Warlord Celts as some of these, like a mixture. Like militia might look like this, where like the Linebreaker would be like 100 Years War guy. They have mounted rangers. Okay. Human heavy cavalry has heavy armor, shield, and a hand weapon. So I'm thinking sword. Doesn't say lance or anything. light catapults, ogres. Wait, I guess ogres are still part of the humans? Okay, human heavy catapult, and then ogre. Ogre line breaker, and then Bugane, whatever that is. I don't know what that is. Giants. Okay, and then it goes to elf list. Okay, they're all pretty much, and then they got like every few pages you're looking at full page art. So even though it says it's a 192 page book, it's probably closer to 175 pages. 50 being rules, 25 being advanced rules, and the rest being all army lists, it looks like. Well, I know that's not true because there's spells in here somewhere. Unaligned creatures. Some of these creatures, I don't recognize their name. Okay, starting at 151, it talks about the campaign. It says it could be enjoyable playing one-off battles, but if you want to test your tactics, have multiple players and play a campaign. Okay. And that's probably really where the kingdom sheet comes into play. It looks like you randomly determine what kind of battle it is. There's an elf champion against a dragon. That's pretty ominous. Okay. Muster your army. Select a scenario. Record the results. And then here's all the scenarios. Pitched battles. Bridge. Chance engagement. Wind and rain. And then it talks about the special abilities that your units have, like shielded or brace or fire breath or whatever they might have. There's about 3 pages of those. Not a whole lot. I'm digging it. If it's streamlined, I'm loving it. And I love Osprey. They always put their stuff together pretty straightforward. Spells. They have a CN. I don't know what a CN is. Oh, casting number. Okay. It's probably a number you got to roll to cast. You probably get a plus based on your level. So higher level makes it easier to cast higher casting number spells. I'm guessing. I'm guessing on that. Human spells, orc spells. And then there's magic items, and they give you points. And I guess you give your magic items to your champions or spellcasters. A golden string bow. And then the reference charts, which is about 3 or 4 pages, plus your army lists. Which they have all these downloadable, I do believe, from the Osprey website. Okay, so that's the rule book, and I'm going to go over that book in detail in future videos that you'll be able to watch on this channel. Look for it. It's going to be Oathmark Boot Camp. I noticed that there was about 10 additional books. I picked up Oathbreakers because it included the skeleton army. If you know me, you know I love skeleton armies. Okay. Undead Kingdom and armies, but then also talks about legendary heroes. And then half this book looks like military expeditions, which I'm not sure what an expedition is. And then there's new and unique territories, which I would guess would go in your kingdoms. And then this is necromancer spells, which I guess you would need if you have spellcasters, because the spells listed in here are specifically for those armies. And if this is a new army, it's going to need its own spellcast spells. Terrain list for when you're building your kingdom. And then it goes champions, skeletal archer, ghouls, spearmen, corpse fire, barrow worm, vampires. Then it goes into legendary heroes. Legendary heroes, I'm not sure if I guess it's building your own hero, which I'm not really a big fan of. Oh, but gaining experience points. Okay, so a hero that can level up, that's kind of cool. I'm digging that. And then there's a survival table. I guess when you get killed on the table, you roll a die to see actually what actually happens. And a result of 1 is dead. But like 5 to 10 is only flesh wounds. Basically, you'll heal up for the next battle. Okay, so that's kind of adds a little role-playing element into the world. Okay, that's kind of cool. Oh, that's an awesome picture right there. That looks like a Celtic skeleton. What do you think? So this game seems like it's got a very Celtic backdrop. Dwarves. Okay, that's Lost in the Hills. So yeah, some new scenarios. Face in the water. Cool picture with a necromancer and his skeletons. And that's a Celtic shield. Or Celtic shield design. And that square is kind of like a Germanic. Can't really see it. Yeah, that's kind of a Germanic shield, right? From Roman period, Roman era. I have a bunch of those. But the elves, you know, they've got the old extra long heater shields. Strange catastrophic events. That's cool. Unique territories, like a healing well. Okay, that's kind of whatever. And then the necromantic spells. Legendary hero sheet. Okay. And then it talks about joining the Oathmark newsletter and their community at Osprey Publishing. Yeah, I might get a couple more of these books. I'm gonna play a few games. Even if I have to play solitaire, I'm gonna play a few games to see how it functions and flows before I make any kind of commitment into army building. But I think this is going to replace my it's going to replace my Warlords of Erewhon itch, right? So my fantasy itch, I might be able to use Romans as humans. I have a bunch of Warhammer elves and stuff. I would have to rebase them, but yeah. Anybody have any comments about Oathmark? Anybody else play Oathmark? I didn't have a great night last night, just letting you know, guys. Last night I didn't get up till like 7 p.m. and I stayed up till 7 a.m. and then tried to get some sleep before this video. I didn't fall asleep till probably 9 o'clock in the morning because it would have been too early for me to go back to sleep, but I tried. And then I realized I needed to get up at about 10:30 to come get this all organized and be ready to go. So I don't know, I feel iffy, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's finish that tea. Okay, there we go. See my little garbage can? Okay. Yeah, I think my tea's in the way of my tripod here. And of course the glare from my room light is like blasting us right there. But depending on where I put these, you might not get that light. Okay, so I got the camera out of my way so you can see me. Okay, so just talking about Oathmark. It looks like a normal, or I should say a small game is like 1 or 2 boxes. So I'm thinking anywhere between 30 and 60 models. And then a full-size game would be 5 times that much. So it looks like maybe about 6 or 7 boxes is kind of what I'm gathering. Maybe about 200 models, which that seems like a really large battle. But then I think about it. I played a bunch of Warhammer tournaments, and our point values in those games were like, well, hold on, did I just jump the point values? Because I think we played around 1250 or something like that. I'm using Warhammer as an example. Now, I'm not saying that these figure points equate exactly, because they shouldn't, because this is a unique game. Should have their own point values. Okay, maybe it's deeper into the rules. Assembling an army. Here we go. Yeah, 2,500 points. Several large units and several characters or monsters. Oh, wait. For a one-off game, you might agree with your opponent to play 1,000 points. In the case, you and your opponent get 1,000 points. Okay, right. However, in specific scenarios and campaigns, the number of points each player can purchase may be fixed. On an occasion, one player may even have more points than the other. And here's some suggested... Okay, so we could agree to play with 1,500 points or whatever. So hypothetically, we could have like 100 figures on a table. That's really only 5 20-man units. Or you could break it down into 6 or 7 10-man units, with a monster or something. And that seems reasonable to me. That seems like a reasonable afternoon of gaming. I don't know how fast combat's going to work. We'll have to figure that out. I'll figure that out when I make my tutorial videos. And when I'm done with the tutorial videos, what I'll probably do is record a solo session on the table, just to let people see the ebb and flow of a game. I'll put some terrain out and some units. Okay, so this is definitely 100% going to replace my Warlords of Erewhon. Now let's talk a little bit about basing, because a lot of stuff that I put together with 1-inch round bases for Warlords, because Warlords of Erewhon is more of a skirmish game where individuals all are kind of like bolt action, right? So units are all like within an inch of each other and running around as a war band or like a mob. I like that, but I also don't like that. I want my units to be standing in ranks, and when they attack, kind of like they need to be able to be moved around individually, but they also need to be able to form up into solid ranks. And I know a square base is easier for that, but I play some other games that require round bases. So what I've been thinking, I thought about this. I'm definitely not going to do this, but we're going to discuss it. I thought about it. I can mount my figures on round bases. Magnetize the bottom. I'm a magnet freak, right? Magnetize the bottom. Magnetize a square base and plop them on a square base with magnets, so that I can form them up using Oathmark or whatever in their square formations And then when I decide to play a round base game, I can just pluck them off their magnets and put them on a round base game. I thought about that. And then but that was before I made a commitment, which I'm going to tell you right now, I'm probably going to be making a commitment to Oathmark as my fantasy rule set that I'm going to go with. Warhammer, I've already decided, I decided this many years ago, it's gotten out of control. Their prices are way too high. Figure requirements are too high. The modeling conventions are just, it's too much. Warhammer was just too much. Warlords of Erewhon, you could play with any figures and you can make pretty much any army, but the rules are so, I don't know. It seems like they were backwards compatible, or you know how some games are made for the PC, but then you port them over to a console and they lose something when they go on the console, or vice versa. You get a console game and then you try to bring it over to the PC, it just doesn't work. That's the way I felt Warlords of Erewhon was. I felt like it lost something. It was bolt action with crossbows, and it just didn't, it wasn't built for hand to hand, really. It's built for like machine guns and artillery cannons and stuff like that. And when you throw a dragon in there, and the dragon's got multiple actions and then multiple turns within the turn, and then what are you doing, Warlord? You're just overcomplicating the rules, right? And so Warlords of Erewhon, I was kind of not so much. Oathmark seems to be pretty cool, but I can't give you a 100% yes, it's cool, no, it's not cool, until I do the boot camp tutorials and until I actually play a few solo games by myself just to feel the mechanics out. But expect that all within a couple of weeks. I suspect I will have all the boot camps done and probably the scenario, a couple of scenarios played out on the table, all within a couple of weeks. So just keep your eyes tuned to the channel. Every couple of days you'll probably see a video go up until it gets taken care of. Okay, so knowing that I'm probably going to be shelving my Warlords of Erewhon, there's no real need and I'm also shelving my D&D figures. I made a commitment about a year ago that I'm not going to play D&D face-to-face anymore. I've just decided that's not the way I'm going to run the game. I'm going to play Roll20 virtually. I think D&D virtual is so much easier for me as a game master, because I've got all my notes right there on the computer. I have every monster I'd possibly ever need on the computer. So if I need a gold dragon, I've got a gold dragon, and I don't have to go up to my shelf and find my gold dragon, which is actually for sale up there. So I've decided about a year ago that I was no longer going to be doing desktop role-playing D&D. So I don't need those fantasy figures. I could easily, most of them are on 1-inch round bases already, and that was great for Warlords of Erewhon. But the rules are what bother me on the Warlords of Erewhon. If I need to take those guys and rebase them on 1-inch squares, I have no problem doing that. I think that that would be great. I could also make movement trays and put the round bases inside the movement trays. as well. So I could still do it just with movement trays. But I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Probably, I'll have to find out if I really like Oathmark or not. And if I do like Oathmark, then there's going to be a lot of converting going on. Okay. Now let's branch out into a few other games. Lion Rampant. I like Lion Rampant. But it's also kind of a I mounted my figures in Lion Rampant on circles. I don't think it matters in that game how you base them, so I don't see a problem with me putting them on squares and still playing Lion Rampant just using squares. I don't see a problem with it. So I still be able to play Lion Rampant. And when it comes to fantasy, medieval era games, I don't want to have 15 different game systems that I'm playing. So SPQR, right? SPQR is not medieval, it's not fantasy, it's ancient period. I think I'm going to stick with Hail Caesar when it comes to the ancient period. SPQR, maybe not, because if I'm going to be doing a lot of Oathmark or Lion Rampant, I don't know if SPQR is really something I'm going to be doing. I already have a bunch of figures for that. I could just leave them, push them off to the side and leave them just in case I ever do play SPQR. Like my Greeks and my Macedonians and my Romans, and yeah. So, and I also have a bunch of Celtic figures from like the Imperial Roman invades England or whatever. I could turn those Celtic figures into Oathmark, like militiamen or something like that, spearmen or something. So I don't think they're too far off from what the art looks like, which is kind of cool. I think we're going to do that. Now I'm going to order some Oathmark box sets. I already have the elf and the skeleton box set, but I'm going to definitely order the dwarves, the heavily armored dwarves for sure. And then I'm going to probably order some humans just to kind of see what the figures look like, but also to put them together and probably sell them on my eBay store. But I might keep them. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what I want to do. But I'll only decide to keep them if I like the rule set. Right now, I'm thinking I do like the rule set, just based on what I've seen so far. I like the unique campaign system, the kingdom building. I thought that was kind of cool because that lets every player have their own unique kingdom, with different types of terrain organized in their kingdom wheel, which I think is kind of a cool mechanic. But I don't know how it plays out with campaign games or you against your friends or whatever. So we'll have to try to figure that out. Okay, last thing before I close out shop, I just realized, it just came to me, my third topic today. Let me move this. Let me deactivate this. Bear with me, guys. We're going to make some changes here. Boom. Okay, let's get this out of the way. Where's my dashboard? Dashboard. Great. Okay, let's go to display capture. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at previous forum posts. Okay, I got to change my glasses. Here we go. We're going to take a look at some previous forum posts, polls, I should say, some forum polls. And they're down here at the bottom. I don't know, you can't see. Right here, you've got some recent subscribers, yay! But 39 votes on this one. Skirmish games, like what are you playing? Look at this one right here. Napoleonic and AWI is running away with that poll. So we're going to go to the community tab. Okay, Napoleonic and AWI. Okay, skirmish, right? But which one? Is it Napoleonic or is it AWI? And then look at Napoleonics down here. This is the rank and file. This is when what I'm talking about is mounting multiple figures to a single base. Not skirmish. Skirmish I consider to be individual figures mounted on an individual base. Having said that, looking at Oathmark, that is not a skirmish game. That is a rank and file game, but the figures are mounted one per base. So that kind of threw a little wrench into my polling. But let's go ahead and create a new poll. Right? We're gonna make a new poll. Okay. And okay. This is for the skirmish game players. Okay. Comma. This is for the NAPS AWI skirmish game players. There we go. I really have two questions that I want to ask. How do you base, round or square, and how big? Okay, but I also want to know if you're playing Napoleonics or AWI. I got multiple polls I want to ask. Okay, so okay. French and Indian. American Revolution. AWI. Napoleonics. That's all I need from them. One simple poll right there. French and Indian, American War of Independence, Napoleonics. Now I'm going to make a new poll for my skirmish what, or how, I should say how. How are you? You two, hey, how are you two? How are you basing? Okay. Round, square. You will not be graded on this test. Sorry. Yeah, so basically I just need to know, how are you guys basing them? This is for my skirmish community. Now for my rank and file, okay. Now for my rank and file community, multi-figure basing. What rules are you using? Black powder. Black powder for okay. Okay, the parry method, right? Or what did I do there? I guess it would be 28 millimeter, not 25 millimeter. What do you guys think? Yep, it could be either really, but I'm going to put other scale or base size. And if that turns out to be the top, then I'll probably need to do another survey later. Okay, post. Okay, so okay, this is how we started it off. We did are you guys doing rank and file or are you doing skirmish? Rank and file went out for sure, but not a huge amount. 45 to 55 seems pretty reasonable, right? But I can see that there are more rank and file people in my community than I realized. I thought skirmish would be a higher percentage, but it's actually inverted. So because of that, I created these two forum posts. Out of the skirmishers, what are you skirmishing? And then out of you rank and filers, what are you rank and filing? Well, it looks like Napoleonics just blew everything else away. And then up here, Napoleonics also blew everything away. But I had included American War of Independence. And if it is split 50-50, then actually fantasy sci-fi had won. Yeah. So assuming Napoleonic and AWI, which one are you actually doing? Are you playing American War of Independence? Are you playing Napoleonics? Or maybe even French and Indian, because there's no other place for that to fall. Well, no other place for that to fall. So I put that in there. My guess is this post, Napoleonics is going to shoot up and the rest will be kind of moderate. Now, also for my skirmish community, are you mounting them on... Remember, this is skirmish. This means individual models per base. Are you mounting them on square or round bases? And then that ends the skirmish version. And then out of that rank and file right here, which I changed into Napoleonics, up here for my Napoleonics rank and file community, how are you basing your figures? Or are you not even playing Black Powder? Are you playing something like Napoleon's Battles or some other game? And if so, I might have to dig deeper into that. Yeah. And that's where we're going to end it today. I just wanted to show you those. Let's go back to, okay, I said we're going to end it right there, but I lie. I'm a liar. Wait, is it over here? My channel. Community, that's probably where it is. No, that's community. Where's my... I don't even know. How do I get to my dashboard? Okay, they changed it. Okay, changed the name of it. Got it. Okay, well, here's my dashboard. So these polls haven't really struck yet. You hadn't had a chance to answer anything on that. I just uploaded a new video just doing my NASA Uzigan. If you want to watch that, that's pretty... I did a really good job on my NASA figures. Couple of comments that I haven't responded to yet. Okay, so let's take a look at those comments. Painting some NASA Jaegers this very moment. Okay, cool. That's nice. Nice bomb run, Razorback. Yep. And then Wargaming Wednesday last week. I also remember the fingernail comment. Right. I made a comment about my fingernails last week about, you know, when you're zooming in on figures and I've got my fingers up in the camera, and it looked like I hadn't washed my fingers. Well, you know, get over it, because maybe I'm a working person. Maybe I got some paint on my fingers. Maybe I got some dirt under my fingernails. You know, get over it. Okay, and then there's, what's this? Microwave water for tea heresy. Right. Oh, yeah, I mentioned that I got a new kettle. I boil up the water. It only takes like 2 or 3 minutes. Turn it on, starts boiling. Tea bag, good to go. Okay, this must be a dumb question. D&D basic background. Is there experience in travel or learn the game? It's been played in convention. Just never read the rules. There doesn't seem to be a section on character advancement beyond character creation. Okay. This is a good question for those of you that play or don't play Traveler. The short answer is yes. There is 2 ways it can be done. Your ref will explain which one he is using. First is training time to level skills. Wow, got some thunder outside. Second is XP per adventure method. Okay, black powder, second Dutch Lancers, looks great. FYI, I'm doing the Polish Lancers right now. I've got them primed on the table over there. Okay, as an Englishman, it's good to know that my attempt at a Texan accent is accurate. Oh man, I don't know if you watch my Traveler role playing, but I did. We stream every other Thursday, and they met a Western cop, and I threw in a horrible accent. I mixed up a few Wild West characters from different movies and stuff like that into one horrible accent, and apparently this guy liked it. Okay. Cool. Lances, not spears. Really? The second Dutch Lancers are carrying lances and not spears? I never would have guessed that. Okay. Keep them coming. Okay. A Spad 7. Boulard's plane said all blood runs red in French due to his experience with racism. Okay. Using dark tone as well, it changed my life, and I do believe that's where I last did my comments. Okay, guys. Well, now we'll actually be ending the stream. I appreciate you guys coming by. I appreciate all your comments on today's videos, which was none. But that's a lot less that I don't have to answer. Okay, but I'm going to really dig deep into this Oathbreakers rule set. We'll see what it's all about. And I'll get back to you this week with some tutorials. But next week, what do you guys want to talk about? I don't know. We'll figure it out. I think I might be talking about some terrain building maybe next week. I'm thinking. I'm not sure. But we'll definitely review the polls that I just put up. That's definitely something we'll do next week. But other than that, I'll catch you next week.